around there. That's the key.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Tech and Real Estate live stream where we talk all things about deals as well as data. I'm excited today to have Cindy and Elizabeth on the show. Welcome.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Hello, happy to be here.
As you join in, feel free to state in the chat where you're coming in from. And I'm going to quickly share my screen here just to go over what's going on in my world. So today we're going to be talking all things land, deal, and analysis. And what's been going on in my world, for those who have been following, I was doing a research project on return to office leads, which is now spawned off into doing a mini series on just how to get alternative leads in general, using web scraping, using data. So if you're interested in that, please let me know in the comments. As well, Data-Driven Investor's Guide is finally available, my new book, as of yesterday. I had a whole plan of how I was going to market it.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm super excited to have it out. We'll also have more information on what it comes with, but it also does come with a course. And personally, very, very excited the Yankees are in the playoffs. I'm hoping. No, why not, Cindy? Who are you rooting for?
We're Astros. We're in Houston. All Astros every day.
The rivalry.
My son's rooting for
New York.
Yankee.
Yeah.
What's the 99 player?
Yankees.
Oh, Aaron Judge.
Oh, he loves him.
Yes. Yeah, he's a big star. So we're hoping for a Subway series. So New York versus Mets, which hasn't happened in like 24 years or so. So we'll see. But on to the main event, which we're all excited for. And sorry, Cindy, I didn't have you on here. We're very excited to have Cindy and Elizabeth from Sister Land Investors.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you for having
happy
us.
to be here. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, I know we're going to be able to cover some of the deals you've worked on, but before we touch on any of that, would love to just hear a bit about your backgrounds and how you got into real estate.
Sure. I'll let Elizabeth go first because she's kind of she started with this.
So the way we started, the land investing was just that myself and my husband, we just got sick and tired of fixing toilets and ACs, and there was always some type of maintenance. And we don't have a lot of homes to get someone to run it, like a project manager. Is that what they're called when you have multiple? So he would be the one fixing them, or I would be calling a plumber. So he's the one who started listening to podcasts, and he heard on Bigger Pockets someone that was interviewed through land, and he's like, let's try it. So we tried it, and we did good the first mailer, and we just started going deep into that rabbit hole, and we're here 7 years later still loving it. I absolutely love it. And then once we got our feet wet, that's when I told her, you need to do this.
Yeah. So my background, I was in medical sales, running that rabbit job, right? Like working extremely hard to make the living in sales and doing that. And she kept telling me, like, you need to really try this. And it's more time with the kids. And we also have rental properties as well. And trying to keep up with that in a full-time 9 to 10 job, because it wasn't 9 to 5. It was constant. Like I was working from home as well. And I just started educating myself. I took a course, and I'm the type that needs to know for myself, not just be told. So I took the course and just kind of dove in and sent my first mailer, and here I am, like, loving it. I was doing that. I started doing it while I was still working my full-time job, and then COVID hit. I got laid off, and it was perfect. Like, I wasn't even scared because I already had that backup where I could actually like dive into it and do that full time.
That's excellent. So you were building this like passive income stream essentially, or like side hustle. And then when you were laid off, unfortunately, but you did have a backup, which
yes, for sure. For sure. And then I've had Elizabeth to help guide me, or we guide each other now, I think too, right? I think we're
Yes.
to the point where we're guiding each other, but it's nice to have that support, and it's a good community of land investors, right? That do it, and it's been a blessing.
Great. For myself, I'm like completely new to land. So in my head, I understand like rentals, you make money based off of the rent, it's higher than what your expenses are. So how do you actually make money when it comes to land?
Do you want me to?
Well, with land, we target kind of like homes. We target an area, and we started where we knew in Texas, just outside the city. And we target small lots. We're like, okay, let's target like 1 acres or smaller. And we just wanted to get our feet wet and understand it more. So that's how we started. So basically, you go and see, when we started, it was like more tax delinquent, which we still do, tax delinquent. And then you also see like pain points, people that need to sell for medical reasons. You don't know the reasons why these people need to sell, but we send direct mail to this certain area or certain zip codes, and then you make them an offer, and you offer them below market value. So you're able to sell right below market value and still get a profit. So that's kind of how we make our money.
Yeah.
And everyone has different reasons why they sell. You never know. Like they're moving, or their kids don't want it, or they received it as a gift from a grandparent and they don't want to do anything with it. So you hear all kinds of stories.
Also, all funny stories too. But I will say, when I started in COVID, when I started doing this full time, it wasn't necessarily like what I noticed and I picked up on right away was the fact that even the market value. So I bought a lot and I priced it not as low as what's recommended or what my sister was doing. So I priced it a little higher and it sold immediately. And it was, I think, the fear of COVID, everyone was unknown, but then people just started really buying. So just being able to adapt to the circumstances of what's going on in the world. Like right now it's an election year, so it gets tricky. But I remember back then, that COVID year, it was great for me because I was buying it for a lot lower than market value, but then I was selling it for a lot higher than market value. And that was a true blessing. We're not in that era right now at all. But being able to research, adapt, and know, like, I think a big part of land is being able to do the research and know what's happening in the area, zip codes that you're planning to purchase and sell in, for sure.
Got it. So you're
Yeah.
going off market to find leads that may need to sell because they're distressed. So you have these land deals under contract, and then you're putting them on market to sell, or is it again off market to another investor?
No, well,
Well,
we're doing now
both.
both.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it was on market, MLS.
Yes. For sure.
Okay.
You start collecting, your buyers, realtors that know people that want to sell. So you just send out what you have, your inventory, to the people that are interested or that could help you.
Okay.
And
And is there any inspection or anything that has to be done when reviewing the land at
So
all?
I think we've learned the hard way.
yes,
I think my recommendation, if you're getting into this, my one and only recommendation is to always get a survey. I think it's easy to say, no, you don't need one when it's a small lot, but there's so much to it and there's so much that can go wrong. And I think Elizabeth and I both have
learn the hard
learned
way.
the hard way. But I think a survey would be my biggest tip, and make sure that you just spend the money to get the survey and make sure that everything is okay with the lot before moving forward.
And I will add to that, survey and title company, because a lot of people in our little
Oh, yes,
niche,
that's true.
when they're super small and it's like 6,000 a land, they're buying it for 6,000, selling it for 24. They don't want to go through title. They'll just do like a quick deed transfer with an attorney or with notary, which can be done, and it has been done, and we've done it. But it just saves you so much time
And headaches at the end of the day.
to
Like,
go
just
through
save
title
yourself
company.
and just do it. And you can always price whatever it costs. The survey, the cost of the survey can be priced on the sell price when you're selling it. So that would be if I had one tip, if you asked us for one tip, that would be it. Ensure that you get a survey.
And that's a huge tip,
It
survey
is.
and title.
Yes.
Excellent. And, just imagine I'm like a total newbie. What is the survey? What do they actually look at? Is it like
Okay.
the boundaries of the land? Is it if it has electricity? Like what's
Yeah, so
the
you
process?
can order different types of surveys and they'll normally ask, I think for me, myself and my business, what I do is just order the most basic. So boundaries to ensure like the amount of acreage that you're buying or square footage that you're buying, and then the boundaries, right? That I order the most basic. Now there are ways that you can order different things. I've never ordered it, so I couldn't speak to it, but it's basically boundaries for me.
And legal access.
And legal
So the
access, yes.
surveyor will tell you, I can't get into the property. I don't
Yeah.
have legal access. So that's the huge one.
And that's a big red flag. If
And
you
I'm
don't
like-
have access, you don't want to. Well, I haven't had success with non-legal access. Have you?
Actually, the gentleman I bought one landlocked because I didn't do a survey. So here I am. And the gentleman that bought the ranch, because there's like 40 acres around it, he wants to buy it.
Oh,
And
good.
yes.
Congratulations.
Well, we don't know. We haven't agreed
Oh, okay.
on the
No,
price.
it's claim.
Yeah,
It's sold.
but he's called me a couple of times to purchase it. So we'll see where that goes. But yes, the surveyor will tell you from here to here, so many feet, and this is the legal access that you have. So the basic one, that's all you need.
That's all we
Okay.
do, and it's been no issue.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. So, and hopefully that deal ends up going through for you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I hope so too,
It
because
will.
we're
It will.
landlocked.
Yes, yes. I have one that I did not order a survey on, and it's not landlocked because there's a legal easement registered with the county on that specific lot. And I didn't order the survey because I saw a picture of the old survey and I was like, oh, it's legal. I got the deed with the easement. Everything's fine. Well, it wouldn't sell. So then I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and bite the bullet and just order the survey. And I did. And the surveyor's like, I don't have access. Where it's saying that there's easement is now a community or a county retention pond or something. And I'm sure I can find it and I will eventually if I can't sell it. But right now I'm just like, I should have just gotten this. Like you always go back to, I should have just paid
Get
for
the
the survey.
Get
Get
the
the
survey.
survey.
Survey and title.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Awesome. And Elizabeth, you did mention a pain point earlier, how you had rentals previously, and then the benefit of like land is that some of those headaches that come with long-term rentals you don't have. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yes. So with rental properties, which we still have and we're still holding them, I'm trying to learn about the 1031 exchange to sell and buy land. I would have tenants because our properties are a lot older from the 50s, 70s. So if you have new properties, you're probably okay. But eventually it comes to the point where the tenants will call you at 2 in the morning. My AC is not cooling. And we're in Texas. We need that AC. Or what is it?
A
The
pipe
toilet,
broke or there's
anything,
water,
they're
yeah.
calling you. And I don't have a lot of properties worth paying a project manager or someone to maintain it. So we were trying to do everything ourselves. We would call the plumber. We would try to go fix it because it would be sometimes very simple little things that my husband would say, oh, I could fix it right away. It's $20 at, Home Depot and I'll go. But it's the timing, the nuisance when they call you, you're with your family on vacation. And with land, you don't get that.
You don't. And it's even as like, you don't even, once you've listed it on the MLS, for example, if you choose to go that route, you don't even have to clear the land. So if a realtor's like, can we go see it? You want to come meet me so that we can go show the land? You're like, you don't need permission. Like it's just bare land. Like, please take your client at any time, whatever works for them. So that's the beauty of it too. You can choose to clear the land if it has like wooded areas, or you can sell it as is. Like you just have so many options to make your life a whole lot easier, especially for us that we have, children and we're busy with sports and everything else. It's been a blessing that you don't have to deal with the toilets and the showers and ACs.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
it's an interesting sweet spot, right? Of when to get a property manager, when not to, like depending on how many rentals you have. And even if like you can fix something yourself, it's going to cost $20. That like time that you have to drive to Home Depot,
Time is
come
money.
back, time is money. That could be 2 hours that you were with your kids or doing something else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we do have a great question here from Jeff. So just to restate, a survey is part of your due diligence process. Do sellers generally permit surveyors onto land without issue?
Do
it's-
sellers? Well, we're the sellers.
No. If you're buying, I think he's
Oh,
referring to if you're
yes.
buying. Yes, there's no issue. They want to sell. They want the money. And there's never been an issue. I've never had an issue with it at all.
No.
And as a matter of fact, and I learned this lesson from Elizabeth, I've never experienced it personally, but it's also a good idea to get the seller to sign a contract to say that if the deal doesn't go through, they'll end up paying for the survey because you're coming out of pocket for that survey beforehand. And I've never done that before, but I think you got burned once.
Yes, you learn as you go.
learn
This
as you
is the,
go.
the beauty of our community. We try to, but yes, you want to word it nicely. And if they want to sell and they know they have road access and they know that it is 20 acres or 1 acre, they'll say, okay, get the survey. I'll sign the agreement that if for whatever reason it doesn't go through, I'll take that cut, that hit.
There's never been, and I've done at least 25 deals or more where I order a survey and I don't buy it. It's never been the case, but I think that it is very important to have one.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
Excellent.
Hope
So-
that answered your question, Jeff.
Yeah, great question, Jeff. And you did mention like you learn along the way, right? And this is
Yes.
true across any strategy, whether it's land or not. So what are maybe some learning lessons aside from like always have a survey that maybe you've had? It could be particular to your market for how land deals work. Anything that you've learned along the way?
I think another hard lesson that I've learned and is consistency. It's so easy to get an
comfortable.
abundance of lots that you're purchasing, and then you have an inventory to sell, but then school's out and summer happens and kids need to do this and that, and you get busy, and then you don't stay with the consistency of looking for more lots to purchase. So I think that in order to be successful in this business, you have to stay consistent. That would be a big tip for me. Would
For
you
me
agree?
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sending mails. Yes.
Consistently.
Yeah, it's an excellent tip, like consistently having deal flow. And I bet not just for your own pockets, but also for the people that you've now built relationships with the agents, with other folks, because if you're not doing deal flow, they may kind of forget about you, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes.
And for this deal flow, are you going to like county websites to pull potential leads, or is there another method that you're using?
We
use-
county is the number one, I think, but you start getting creative when it starts. Like there's been times when I'm speaking for myself, when I first started, because she's 7 years in, I'm 4.5 years in. So when I first started, it was hot. It was beautiful, like hot. And I think now with the election, it being an election year, it's kind of slowed down, not tremendously, but it has. It's not what it was 4 years ago. So you start getting creative on how you're going to find more deals. And I think in evaluating our business, Liz and I, we've come to the conclusion that like going back and calling old, like people that were interested that maybe it didn't happen. So you keep track of all your communications, all your conversations with potential sellers. So going back to those, revisiting, and then Elizabeth also gave me a big tip on just remailing to the same county. Like you already have the information, so just send another updated mailer to them, and that's been helpful. In when it starts getting slow, that's been helpful.
Retargeting, yeah.
Retargeting, and also letting, like, we work with so many counties, but the ones that have been good to us, I've built relationships with title companies, brokers, attorneys, and just letting them know, like, if one vacant land or farm or ranch doesn't go through, call me.
Call
I'm a
us.
cash buyer. I'll buy it.
Yes.
So they have sent us a couple leads, like for whatever reason, the seller
couldn't get the financing, so it didn't go through.
Yeah. So that's been very helpful, having those relationships and reminding them, I'm still here. I still have. So reminding those relationships that you're still in the game. You're still doing this. You're a cash buyer. You're willing to buy this. They'll call you. They'll pick up the phone and say, hey, this didn't go through. Are you ladies interested?
But keeping those relationships. So I'm not shifting, but I will say what's important too. I think having those healthy relationships with the title companies, like bringing them cookies at closing or donuts or breakfast, whatever, like just being kind, and it's a customer service like mentality to keeping them happy. And you will notice how much donuts make a difference. Like it just makes everyone so happy to see you, and then they're willing to help you a little later. And it's just, I mean, those are just basic business mentality, but it makes a world of difference for sure when you need favors from them as far as call me if there's something that didn't go through.
Excellent. I mean, I feel like we're at a stage where a lot of folks are using technology like ChatGPT and other things and trying to almost like take away the human element of real estate, but it's so apparent, right?
It's
Even I
huge.
can think in my own examples of when I have new tenants that come in and I have like a little binder of like, this is a nearby restaurant, this is like the stuff around, and saying like, oh, if it's a house hack, I used to live in this property. This is like where I used to, read a book because the sun comes in really well here. All little tidbits that like really helps when down the line, if there is an issue, they're more willing to bring it forward right away. And in your instance, if there's a deal that falls through, they're more willing to set it your way as well.
Yes,
Absolutely.
for sure.
And also the sellers and the buyers, like even if it doesn't, you don't purchase from that person, just being kind and nice goes a long ways to say, okay, you're not interested, but if you know of anyone, and they'll send you leads, like my neighbor.
My sister, I've had a sister that wants to sell in a total different county. But yes, I think being kind and just the basics, it's so the human basic kindness, I think it takes you a long way as well.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we do have another great follow-up question from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for asking these questions. Does the size of the parcel matter when deciding to conduct a survey? So if it's a small residential lot versus a large tract of land?
I think Liz is probably going to disagree with me, but I would say no, it does not matter. I would say do it because you can always add that cost to the sell. Because the surveys, they go, I mean, there was one that I purchased. Sorry, I'm going off in a tangent, but there was one that I was trying to purchase in Texas, and I ordered a survey, and it ended up being, he said, I won't survey it. And I asked him, why? Why won't you survey it? He's like, because it's a huge mess. It's land that's been around for, it was like a whole plot of an area that people were fighting for pieces, and there was not enough information from the 1800s to actually say what part was what. So had I not ordered it, I wouldn't have been able to sell it. So I would say, doesn't matter the size, get the survey. That's my advice.
Well, now it's my advice. Because I purchased here in Texas, the people, the old-fashioned people, they're like handshake. It's yours. Here, Ariel, this is your land. And that's how they used to do deals back in, like she said, in the 1900s. So these farmers and ranchers have huge acreage. And a lot of our people in our niche are coming in buying like 200, 300 acres and then subdividing them. Well, a lot of them were handshakes, and they'll come back and say, no, this is ours. And there's a area in the county where I've learned the hard way that you have to get a survey. And I just say get it for everything.
Yes, just
small
get it.
and big.
Small and big, just get it. It avoids headaches, I promise.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I never would have thought of, like handshake deals. Okay, this little part of the land, the corner of it, like it's yours, and how you need to validate that through a survey.
Yeah. There's counties here.
There are counties, and there's so many examples. I'd take up all day, but I mean, there was one where I had a sweet, sweet, sweet old lady, 98 years old, who wanted to sell me her plot, and I ordered the survey. Well, I didn't even get to order the survey, but it was like, she was an African-American lady, and their owners back in the Texas days when they had African-American. Anyways, it's on the deed where they gave her the piece of land, but because it was never actually deeded to her, like legally with the county, it wasn't hers. So that was a really, really sad situation. But I mean, it happened. That's how it was done back then. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, there's areas where we learn not to remill.
Yes. Yeah, that's the
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we do have another question from Brave. Are you using any tools or systems to measure supply versus demand? So maybe also like, is there certain parts of Texas that you target based off of any metrics or things that you look out for?
So for me, do you mind if I go first?
No, go.
For me, I think Zillow, Realtor, all of that, like those are my best friends. When I'm looking to see that an area that I'm going to target, I go there first just to see what's selling, what it's selling for, what is the demand, what it's looking like, and I base it off of that. I don't know how you approach. We have
Um,
different ways, but that's how I
The
approach it.
way we started like this the same way because that's how we were taught. But I kind of like to listen, like in addition to that, that's a great way. And that's what we do. We also listen to where big companies are moving to,
That's true.
like Tesla moving to Texas. That was huge.
Fast
So I don't
shop.
think we were the only
Yeah,
ones
no.
mailing outside of Austin and surrounding areas. I think a lot of people did. But just having your ear open, like where are these big companies moving? A lot of people don't want to be in the city crammed up in a little condo. They want a piece of land or more wiggle room or something. So um, that's another way. Like you see what's going on, what's happening in what area, and we kind of target outside. We don't go in. We just stay out on the outside.
Great strategy. And do you find when you, for example, say like Tesla's coming to the area, do you like hold onto the land for a longer period of time to see more appreciation, or you still do like a quick
Flip.
flip on that? Yeah.
Do you want to answer?
Yeah, well, I did the quick flip. Bastrop was actually really great for me. And you didn't have to. Like, I think it was just hot because of the news. I didn't hold on to 'em. I wish I had now. I wish I had now, but I didn't.
So
Kind of you live and learn, right?
I will tell you that's our goal that we wrote down, my husband and I told her we do a lot of flips because we want money quick. We love to travel. We like to do extravagant things. But at the same time, our kids are getting older. And I am not thinking 1 year ahead, 5 years ahead. I want to start thinking because I listen to a lot of motivational and inspirational. So I told my husband from now on, because we're buying bigger lots, I want to hold on to a piece of a pie. Like we don't have to sell off 50. Can we keep
Yes.
10? Because in Texas, 10, you get ag exempt. So there's a lot of benefits. I could go into that. But I'm like, let's just keep 10 here, 10 there, and drizzle those 10 for my great grandkids. Because can you imagine in like
Yeah.
100 years from now what that land's going to be?
They're
Because
not making more land.
they're not making more land. So no, we've been flipping a lot. But that is our goal moving forward for 25 and moving forward to keep a little piece of the pie.
Got it. And how does that work? Like, do you have to go to the county to subdivide the land and then
The survey will subdivide it for you.
But you do have to go to
You
the
do,
county
and get permission.
and you talk to the people in the county, like what's the lease to still keep the ag exempt, and they'll tell you it's different around areas. And
is
Yeah.
that like a 6 month, 9 month, 12-month process? Like it's pretty quick.
No. A survey, well, going to the county is not long. It could be as simple as an email. But the surveyors is what's key. It can be 4 weeks, 2 weeks, and then it could be 2 months. You just never know.
I think 2 months has been our longest.
Yeah, 2 months is the extreme, but it can get there.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for that detail. And we have another question when it comes to looking at, say, like the history of a plot. Since you can't see what it's sold for, maybe in the past because of non-disclosure state, do you use, in this case, the county website?
And your relationships that you've built so strongly with your realtors,
Brokers,
your
they have
brokers,
that
they have the
information.
information. They can get it to you. Another way, before, like early on, you can scroll down and see what they had it listed for and kind of get an idea, see what the lot is worth. It takes more time than asking a broker, right, to get you that information.
Yeah, I just call my broker and I say,
Yeah.
hey, this is area I'm targeting. Tell me everything that's sold for
For
this.
how much? Yeah.
And they send it to me. The
Yep.
cookies and donuts go a long way.
They go a long, long way.
I bet. And is it like one broker you work with, or do you work with several?
We several like so in different counties, right? You have brokers that come to you that with people that want us the purchase, but it's one for on our sell side for the most part. Well, with
Yeah.
the exception of no, for the most part, it's one.
I have one in one county south of Texas, and then I do one because I just love to travel to Florida and I love to travel to other towns. So I got one that's a national flat fee broker. He could list it anywhere. So I've been building my relationship because I've been sending them deals. Um, so yeah, I have one national and one here in
Local, yeah.
Texas.
Okay. And where do you find these brokers? Because, like, for example, a lot of agents, they stick with like, helping a young couple, newlyweds, find a perfect home. They're not really looking at helping with land. So if you were, say, like starting from scratch and wanted to build relationships with brokers that work with land, how would you do so?
If I was to start now knowing what I know, I would go to the Zillow or MLS or landwatch.com and see what brokers have sold the most and just call them, email them, and start building your relationship. Absolutely. Back then, I didn't know. I just picked up the phone. I'm very old
Picking
fashioned.
up the phone is
And
key
call.
too because I'm thinking our broker that we use doesn't it lists on the MLL for Houston and surrounding areas, but there's a point where it doesn't get listed. Do you remember? So then you have to kind of look for someone that's local in the area that you're trying to sell. But picking up the phone and calling and interviewing them basically is key too.
Got it. And what would be like some questions you would ask? Like, I would
Have
assume,
you
like, how much volume have you done in the
How
last?
much about have you ever sold land? What was that like? How do you, yeah, like what services do you offer with the land? Because they could just list it and not help with pictures, but you're paying your portion of the pie there too, right? So those type of questions, like how many land deals have you done? Have you sold any land? Like those type of questions.
Makes
For
sense.
Yep.
Yeah. And are you guys actively a part of any communities of other folks who are doing land too?
All
Yes.
over the YouTube communities that we listen to podcasts endlessly. We're always on podcast. I think it's the only way to learn new ways of doing things or other ways.
We just started the sister one because it's very male dominant,
It's so
which is
male
okay.
dominant.
I don't mind speaking to them out. They've been very helpful, but we never found a female, like other people. We're now starting to see more females get into the niche. But yeah, we there's tons out there. Land Geek, REI Tipster, Casual Fridays, Land
Yeah,
Academy.
yeah,
There's
so many.
tons, but not a lot of female. So if
Yeah,
there's any
well,
female,
I am very happy that you guys are in the space.
yes.
So we do have another question, a little more general. So asking for advice on increasing rental income and cash flow in an area with higher vacancy. Any suggestions here?
Advice
Increasing rental income on cash flow in an area where higher vacancy. So there's not a lot of people renting. Is that what I'm, I guess, gathering?
Yeah, so maybe an area where maybe you've listed the property for rent and it's been sitting for 30, 60, 90 days. What are maybe methods to be able to get someone into that property and be able to cash flow without bringing the rents too far down?
I've never had that issue, but off the top of my head, I'm like, can you VRBO it temporarily, maybe for like a weekend? That's where I would go. Maybe that was the first thing, but that's never been a situation for me. Have you?
Yeah, our rental properties, mine are like right in the heart of Houston, and they rent quick because
There's
it's
people
close to the
in line.
medical center in Houston.
Yeah.
So if it's not a family that has to be in and out the medical or a medical student that leases it out for a year or 3 years. So I've never had that issue, but I would say use social media, post it out there. Pay.
Craigslist, yeah. all
I
of that.
always tell the person that's leasing it before they leave, I'm like, I thank you for being my tenant. If you know of anyone, I'll give you a fee for
A
recommending it.
finder's fee, yeah.
So yeah, tell your friends, hey, put it on your social media, put it on the MLS, whatever, and I'll pay you a fee. Like even if it's $100, whatever you feel comfortable with, let them know, like, I really need help leasing this property and I'll pay you a fee. Let's
That
get
is
it
such a
rolling.
smart
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah.
Because you may not want to pay that fee, but the longer it sits on market, like, you're gonna
You're
be losing
losing.
out.
Yes.
Another tip too that I can add, just review, like, the photos that you do have for the property. I once made the mistake of doing, like, iPhone photos, for my listing, which is okay in some markets, but then
Yeah.
when I looked at comparables, they were all using, like, more professional shots.
Mhm.
So mine was falling towards the end. But,
Mhm.
yeah, great advice, posting on multiple sites, and looking for potential finder's fee too.
Yeah.
So we have another question here. Excuse me. So beyond typical economic indicators such as the Tesla example, what other signals may you look for? Maybe also like what is your buy box when you're looking to acquire and then flip these land properties?
So she spoke to this, I think, briefly, but I also look like I don't want to look for land inside a city where there's already a lot of movement and a lot of competition. So I look outside of a city, like for example, Houston, because that's where we are. I would look around the surrounding areas and see if there is movement, if there's lots moving, the price per lot. So there's a little research that goes into it, looking to see what they're selling for, trying to get the market value of the property, and then see what they're selling for, and see what the interest too. You can also look at population growth for areas. That's also a good indicative. Like you have to do your research there too, but that's things that I've done in the past to target a certain area for sure.
I did all that. Also recreational is huge. Like once you get to a certain dollar amount on land, there's a lot of people that just want recreational,
To
like
go
hunting,
hunting.
four-wheeling. In Florida, I met a lot of people that wanted wetland. I didn't know I was buying wetland, and they're like, "No, we love that. Sell it to me." And so that went off quick because you never know what the end buyer is looking for. So just seeing what people are doing outside the city that's recreational, that then these people may have money. So you go into bigger lot sizes. So they want hunting, they want bird hunting, whatever it is that they're into, and see how much of that is and knowing what's around. That's another. But yeah, it takes a lot of researching and knowing what the population's into in certain areas of the county.
Wow, yeah, I never thought about that. Like,
Yeah.
off-roading, hunting, like these types of hobbies and stuff, like to be able to have like land that they could do it in is
Yeah.
another
Yeah,
incentive. And also, I bet like the relationships you have with your brokers also help with kind of knowing what people's preferences are.
For
At a given
sure.
correct.
time.
Yes.
Correct.
Great. And we have another question from Rafe here. What type of closings do you do? Can you do same day double closings with a closing attorney in Texas?
Yes.
Yes, I've never done one person and not same day, but we do, like as Elizabeth spoke to earlier, we do title closing. We don't do an attorney alone. We go through a title that gets the title insurance, the deeds, everything that comes with closing, and then and they can do double closings, but it's nothing that I can speak to because I have never closed on the same day.
Yeah, the way we do it, we purchase our land, it's ours, and then we turn around and sell it. But in our community, in our niche, there is a lot of people in Texas that will buy the land, hold it, and close it the same day or within 24 hours. So yes, it's done. I just kind of get
I do too. I had
anxious.
one
I
where
want it to be mine so I could control. I like control.
oh, and I got scared. I could have done it with the lot that I purchased because I went out to see the lot and I met the neighbor next to that immediate is like, I want it. And I could have easily sold it to him on the spot and done a double closing. But then the negative thoughts start coming in like, oh, well, what if he goes directly to the seller and then the seller doesn't sell to me? So I start getting worried and I just avoided it. I just waited till I purchased it and then I turned around and sold it to him.
Yeah.
But I could have, I guess, if I
Yeah,
didn't have that fear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys here that do that.
Yes.
I'm definitely on the side of like wanting control. So I probably want to hold on to the land for even like 24 hours at minimum.
Yes.
Uh, and thank you all for the questions. Keep them coming. But I do want to transition a bit. And I want to hear maybe one or two of your favorite deals that you've done. And if you can kind of run us through like how you found the deal and what the numbers looked like at the end as well.
Yeah. You wanna go
Yeah.
first?
My favorite, I guess, was this past summer. We sent a mailer out and wanted to purchase 20 acres. And then the gentleman, older man, he's like, I have another extra 40 acres. And he has so much. So to me, that's been the favorite because he himself has brought us more leads. But the beauty of that land, it already had a road right in between it. So I was able to put both of them for sale, like separate, and get our money back plus a lot more. But the man that outbid the man that was buying one part decided to buy the whole thing. That was my favorite because it was so easy. Because I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to split and get 2 surveys, which I didn't mind because I saw the huge profit, but I didn't have to do it. It worked out kind of like hers. Like he outbid it and said, whatever he's offering, I'll offer you double. I want the whole ranch to myself. So he bought the whole thing himself.
That's nice. That's very,
It-
very nice.
It saved me a little headache and
Yeah.
work. Yeah. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
And-
So for me, I think it's the easy ones, right? And I'll speak to the one that I said that I could have double closed. Like I think when it's easy and you don't have to list it and you don't have to get the broker involved because you can just do it yourself if you've spoken live to the person, which was the case for me. I purchased it, and the very next day I reached out to the gentleman and said, okay, like this is what I'm selling it for. I'm happy to sell. I'm ready to sell. And we were able to sell, like I said, without I didn't have to list it anywhere. But then he was a gentleman that only spoke Spanish. So he was interested in another lot. And he directed me to some other people that were interested in selling. So that also helped my business as well. And it's just with the kindness, like being able to speak to him, translating for him, like all of that, like doing these little favors just helped. But that deal in particular was so easy because I sold him on it the day I met him, and I was able to close within 2 weeks. I think I flipped that lot.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a fast turnaround without having to like
Those are nice. Those are nice.
They don't come all the time.
They
Don't set your
No,
expectations. They
because
don't.
you're waiting for surveys, right? Before you even close, you're waiting for the survey. You're waiting for a lot. And if you have to wait to sell because you're listing it, like it just takes a little bit more time. You're answering more questions. You're doing a little bit more paperwork. And when you don't have to do that, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sounds like, a lot of folks may come into real estate thinking if you do want to flip, you have to go into some like large flip, some project of rehabbing a property, which could be tens of thousands of dollars, managing contractors, managing if they're like doing the work and running away with your money. So it seems like with land, you eliminate a lot of these like variables where things could go wrong.
Yes. Yeah. And you're able to do that if you choose that's the route you want to go, but you don't have to. And that's the beauty of it.
So I'll tell you, one of the properties that I bought, and the gentleman that purchased it for me, he's an officer. And what he does as a side hustle was clear out the lots and then he would lease them. He didn't need the money cash right away. He didn't want cash. So he was a single guy, younger, no kids. So he's like, so anytime you have some, send them to me. He would go out and clear them. And then he would send me pictures. I was like, oh, I want to buy it. He would clear them so nice. And then he would lease them to other people that wanted to put their RV there for the weekend because they were close to the coast in Texas. And he's a buyer that I have in the back of my hand, but he likes certain areas. So he's more particular, but he clears them out and puts the water well and the septic tank. So he improves it. So a lot of people, if you want to get into this, I would say there's so much within just land investing
that you can do with it. There's so much you can do with the land.
RV parks. People get so creative. You could lease it. I just heard a podcast right now earlier this morning. I'm sorry I interrupted you. The gentleman started similar to Airbnb, but now he just does it for parking lots, which is huge because I'm looking at a property that in Tennessee that you cannot put a septic tank or a water well. So then I'm like, well, I can't buy it because I can't.
There's nothing.
No one could build a home unless they wanted to go off-roading or hunting. But then one of the girls that's in our community said, no, listen to this podcast. these guys are like leasing just flat land or raw land to park their trucks because there's a lot of truck drivers
18-wheelers. Yeah.
and they don't have places to park. And mine, the one I'm looking at, is right off the highway from Nashville. So I'm like, I might do that.
There you go.
But there's so many niches within the land. So many.
Yeah, curious. Was it Neighbor, that company?
It is, oh my God, and I just heard it is a car truck rental something. I could send it to you so you could look it up. It's
Yeah, sure.
truck rental lease or truck something, but it's for only truck drivers that don't have the space or don't want to put it in their front yard or backyard, and they just park. They lease the land to park there. The only thing, we don't have a place to put a restroom for those guys to go empty their bladder.
Porta potties.
But don't you need like a water well or something?
No, not for a porta potty. You need a company that can come pick it up and
Yeah.
clear it
Oh,
up.
yeah, you
but-
could get very
yeah.
creative.
Yes, you can.
Very creative.
I'll send you the gentleman because I don't know it from the top of my head.
Yeah, no worries. And just curious, like, what do the numbers look like on these deals, in terms of like how much does the land usually cost to acquire it under market value, at least for maybe past ones that you've done? And is when you flip, is what you're making for profit, is it like $1,000 or more than that?
Yeah, no.
More.
So I think that return on investment, I think percentage wise, in my business, I think it's ranged. The lowest has been 60%, and the highest is like 240%. So it just ranges, and it just depends on the size of the lot and the amount you're spending on the lot. But it can be very, very profitable. I'm not gonna lie, it's not all beauty and thing. I've had a $2,000 profit before because it was just not the best lot. This was right when I was starting. But it was still profit in my eyes, right? $2,000, who's going to give that to you? But for the most part, it's great. Like once you know how to target areas, I think it's good return on investments.
I agree. We've done up to 350, 360
Yeah.
return.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That was
and-
one early on, right? For you? That was, yeah,
Yes,
that was
and I
good.
learned the hard way all about the taxes. I cried when I wrote the check to the IRS. Guys, reach out to me. I know so much. I could be a tax attorney. No, I'm joking. But yes, their returns are good. You just have to throw it back in the business.
in the business. To make sure you're
Learn
not taxed
to-
on it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, taxes can definitely get you for sure.
Break you.
Um,
Yeah.
Rafe has a good question here. When it comes to your purchasing power, so how you're able to acquire these land deals, is it like your own cash reserves do you have, or do you have maybe private money lenders?
So that's a phenomenal question
That is
because
a
I think
great
that
question.
when we both started, for me, I was using all my cash, all of it.
Both of us.
And it's not a smart way to do business. I think that if you really want to scale your business and grow it and make it a big powerhouse, you have to use other people's money in order to grow, because you run out. If you're
Yeah.
actively purchasing and
Flipping.
flipping, there'll come a point where you run out of money because it's either in a buy or you're waiting on a sell. So I think that is key, using other people's money for sure.
Yes, that's
Okay.
another tip I would give everyone. Don't even, if you have savings, don't even touch it. Now we're lending money to newbies because we know the power of it. So instead of giving it to Uncle Sam, I rather partner up with
So-
you or her or someone else that I know it's going to
Yeah.
give a return. So
Absolutely.
yeah, partner up.
And sometimes you have deals that come across that are so great, and you're like, I'm never going to come up with this money, but it's in your heart that you can triple the return. Sorry, and I think when I first started, I was just like, there's no way. I passed on so many deals that I wish I would not have, because you reach out to lenders that are charging you 50%, and you're like, that's so much money, but I've done all the work. But at the end of the day, I didn't make anything out of it. So I think changing the mindset on that is key. It's huge. And any dollar amount that you're profiting is great. And the bank will never, ever give you what you're making on land. So yeah, other people, we are here to help support if anyone needs,
There's a
land.
huge community.
But there's
that
a
are
huge
willing to
community
do
that
it.
are willing to do it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, great tips. And what comes first? Is it the deal? Like you have a deal in hand and then you look for those who can help you find purchase it, or should you have folks already in your network before you start searching for these deals?
I
Well,
guess both, but for us, when we started, we didn't know any better. We used up our money, and then we start asking for families' money because they saw the. I mean, they would see the returns. Like we bought it for this much, we sold it for this much. Like, oh, we want it. Um, so showing the deals to private investors or hard money lenders, showing them the deal,
they need to see
they
it.
need to
They
see it.
need to
Like
see that
I
it's a
want to
good
see
deal.
everything I'm putting a
Yes.
nickel into. Like
I want to
send me
make
the
sure that I'm
information.
comfortable with it, right? That I'm comfortable with the purchase that you think is going to be profitable. I want to make sure, talking about control, right?
No, I
it's your
do.
money though,
It's
right?
your
Like if
money,
you're
so-
lending it, you need to make sure that it's the right deal. So you want to be able to see the deal. So it needs to be one that you've already have on hand.
But at the same time, once they see, like I've used a lot of private lenders here in Texas, and they've seen my deals over and over, where it comes to a point like, okay, Elizabeth, here's
How
my money.
much?
Like
Yeah.
they don't even want to see it anymore. They know how you work, they know what you deal, what you
Yes.
do, and they're okay with it. And now they're like, okay, well, you're starting this community. So if any of them needs, we could fund the deals as well. So you have money backing up other money, which is huge. So relationships, guys,
It's
I know
key. It is
it's
key.
going back to the basics. Yeah. But at first, you do have to show the deals, have a deal.
Makes sense. And when you're like building that trust and showing maybe one deal that you've done in the past or this future deal, like do you package it where it's like a spreadsheet that you're sending, or is it like a PDF? How does that work?
At first,
You-
I didn't know. I didn't know. I just kind of reached out to some guys that I knew they were doing what I was doing. And I said, look, this is what I have, all via email. And I send them everything. And I'm gonna buy it for this much, and I think I could sell it for this much, because you
this
don't
amount of
know for
time.
sure. And they're like, well, are you gonna they want to know all the details. Are you gonna split it? Are you gonna subdivide it? Are you gonna put water wells, all this? And I didn't know all that. And I'm like, I don't know. So they turned around and said, okay, Elizabeth, I think you should do this. If you want to split, sell the big one to pay us off first, because they don't want to sit and wait too long. Sell this one really quick for this amount, and then you can sit on that or do whatever you want with the rest of the property. So having their guidance helped me
helps.
navigate. But at first, I didn't know.
And if someone's lending you money, they're willing to help guide you too. Like that, I think everyone that we've encountered in this community is always willing to help. No one's trying to. Sorry if I'm going to use the wrong word, but screw anyone over. Everyone's just trying to help. Everyone knows that everyone's just trying to hustle and get
A
get
piece of the
job done.
pie, yeah.
1,000%. And I think that's something that if you're new to the real estate space, you do have to wrap your head around, is
Yeah.
that at least like coming from corporate world, there's some corporations where it's like bottom 10% are going to get cut every single year. So it
Yeah.
does become like this dog eat dog mentality, and everyone's kind of like not looking out to screw over someone else, but maybe not help as much and
You're
refrain
trying
from
to
doing
claw
that.
your way up. Yep.
Right. But in the real estate space, like it shocked me when I got into it, how many people were just willing to share their knowledge as well.
Yes.
Because there's just enough for everyone. It's enough to go around. There really, really, truly is.
And I like this quote from Jeff: all real estate feels expensive when you buy it.
It does.
It does.
Yeah,
It
it's
does.
true.
It is so true.
And also their question, what tools do you use to evaluate a land purchase? Any Google Sheets you could share now or are on your channel, perhaps?
The tools that I use to evaluate land, it's again what's out there, the public, like Zillow,
Zillow.
Redfin, and I always go below that because I want to sell it
Because that's
quick.
your competition. So you want to be, if you want to flip it quickly, you want to see what's out there, what it's selling for, the same acreage around the same area that you've purchased, and you want to go below what it's selling for
Yeah.
so that it can sell.
And you
quicker.
have enough wiggle room to do it. So
Yes.
yours will sell quick and you still have a nice return. So yeah, the MLS has been that's our tool. That's our Bible.
to gauge. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how has it been for you guys? Because I know, Elizabeth, when we spoke, you were moving to another market, not just Texas, but to Nashville as well.
Yeah.
So how has that transition been?
It's a different,
They're
each
different beasts.
different areas is different. So I'm learning a lot there in Tennessee. You have to have more. So not just a survey, you have to get a perk test, which is they test the soil. I didn't even know. So again, with this one, I'm like, I'm not going to use any of my money. I'm going to get the private investor. So I called him. I'm like, hey, Josh, we're doing this. He's like, oh, I love Tennessee. He said, what do you have? Send it to me. So I send it to him. He said, you need a perk test. I'm like, what's that? So they test the soil. And I'm glad he told me and that I didn't use my money because I could have easily used my money. When they did the perk test, it didn't perk, meaning you can't put a water well or a septic tank. So it was like a 30-acre. I was planning to divide it, pay him off, and then do the rest, right? Profit the rest myself. And when the perk test came, I can't divide it because no one that wants to build out there or put a mobile home or RV, even for the weekend, could put a water well or anything. So that's the one that I'm thinking about reaching out to the gentleman. Um, and then the other thing is I've been learning, like not in Texas, in Tennessee, you have to have people walk the property. I'm not in Tennessee. So I've called our Uber driver because we were out there and I called him because he said he offered himself relationship,
Yeah,
guys, relationship.
relationship.
My Uber driver took me to go see a property that this lady was ready to sell like yesterday. And when I went out there and walked it, it's a cliff. You walk 5 steps and it's a cliff. And I'm like, I can't build anything here. And so I told her, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I could do with your property. So I'm not going to purchase it. And he offered, he goes, Elizabeth, if you get anything, I'll drive out there. Just pay me the fee to drive and I'll walk it. So he's walked a couple of properties where the topography is like
Not good.
not suitable.
I will say this though, and I don't mean to take off topic. There was a lot when you said the cliff. There was a lot in Bastrop early in my journey with land investing, and it was in a HOA like community in Bastrop, and I purchased the lot, and it wasn't selling. 3 months later, sorry, the lot had a cliff in it, so it was in a HOA. It was a community. This particular lot had probably about a 10-foot drop in it. And it was a beautiful community. Anyways, it wasn't selling. But then all of a sudden, I got a buyer and he went out and he looked at it. So, how he was going to build, I didn't ask, I didn't care, but it ended up selling
I sold one
for
like
a
that.
great profit.
Like in Texas, it's not.
It's different, yeah.
It's mostly flat, but out in the hill country, like Austin, Bastrop,
Yeah.
there is a lot of hills. And I sold one out there.
That you
And
just never know what people need and want coming,
Yeah.
going back to it. But he
Yeah.
did say he was going to build a home. I guess he was going to put big. I mean, I don't know. I didn't ask, but
Yeah.
it did sell. I thought of that when you said
The
you didn't want
cliff.
the cliff. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all types of terrains. Well,
Yep.
Cindy and Elizabeth, I've learned so much from you just within a
Oh.
span of an hour. As we wrap up here, what are you guys looking to, do in the future? Like, what are some of your goals with land investing, and how could folks follow you?
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for asking. Well, they could follow us at Sister Land Investors for sure. We're trying to bring in more ladies that are doing land investing. It's hard because there's not a lot of women. So we may open it to the guys, but those guys have a huge platform. But yeah, we might bring more people to talk about their land deals.
I think we can learn from it. Everyone can learn from men
Yeah,
and
we
women.
do.
but
I learned a lot from.
Yes.
That's all I've had, men to teach me. And yeah, what do we have to offer right now? We're not selling anything, just selling that land is beautiful. Get your survey, go to title, build relationships. Everyone, buyer, seller, build a relationship. Give a finder's fee. What else can I tell you? And yeah, let's learn and grow together because I'm always learning something new. I don't know it all. But it's a beautiful market. The returns are great. It is work. I'm not going to say it's not work. It's work. And there's a lot of niches within that. You could do farmland investing, ranch, cattle. beehives. Like you'd be surprised what you hear out there.
I'm laughing because I see someone has said that asked, "How can I sign up my wife?" It's funny
cool.
because we've had people try to hire us to be their person to speak to sellers, and I really do think that there's something in women in our nature, given nature, that we're able to communicate and maybe empathize with people. But I've had people to say, "Hey, will you come work for me to answer my phones and close deals?" Well, no, I have my own deals to close, but I think it's coming from men come from a different place, or it's just different. But have you had that?
Yeah, no, I have. But I think what he's asking, how can I sign up my wife to learn about land investing?
We are in the process of creating.
Send us a DM on
Yeah,
Instagram.
send us a DM. We're not anywhere near finishing. We've met for ideas. We're trying to create contents to teach, but we are not there yet anytime soon, within the 2024 at least. But send us a DM and get us your contact, and hopefully we can get back to you for sure.
Excellent. Yes, follow on Instagram. And thank you everyone for joining live. For next week, we have moves. There we go. We do have Pablo Delgado coming on for code violation leads. So that will be next week at the same time, and looking forward to that as well.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you,
so
Ariel.
much. Thank you for your questions. We appreciated them. And thank you for having us, Ariel. We so appreciated it.
Yes, thank you. And good luck to everyone in your real estate